Hey guys, welcome back to AFK Journey. In today's video, we have Sinbad over on the test server, and I want to have a chat about this guy, show you some results that I've seen from some high-ranked players over on my test server. In general, this guy, I recommend holding out until we see him on global. We see the meta. He did work really well on the Pioneer server where we had every hero maxed out. He was doing amazing things in bosses there. I do think the other thing we really got to consider is waiting and seeing how he performs in endless mode to whether he is going to be worth it. But this dude is looking really solid, and I think these are like early thoughts. I think once he goes to the standard wish list, it may push REINIER off of the priority list for Celestial Hypergeans, because he does serve the similar sort of role, but instead of providing that extra healing and damage mitigation for an ally, he brings extra damage himself. And I'm curious to see how the dust settles on the meta, but I do think he is going to be very strong. In general, I'm thinking you know, if you've already got REINIER built, like, I just always hate summoning for A levels on radar banners, but I think he's going to be decent. I did pull one copy over here on the test server to test him. We got Necro Drakon going on at the moment, which wasn't his best fight over on the Pioneer server. I couldn't get him to work at one copy, but I will test that, and I'll probably pick up one copy of him over on my main account and test him over there as well, see if I can get any usage out of him. But let's take a look and why I think this guy is going to be really strong. And like I said, possibly replace REINIER out of the Celestial Hypergean priority once this guy goes to standard banner. Because if a new account could just summon for this guy on the standard banner, get him to Mythic Plus, have damage amplification and extra damage from him, as opposed to investing into REINIER, even if this guy is a little bit worse than what REINIER provides, I think overall account strength probably goes up, because we're going to have more Celestial Hypergeans that you need to summon. And, you know, if you've got one that's working fairly similar, then it's going to be pretty solid. The one thing that this guy does fall off against REINIER is, one, he doesn't have that healing, two, he doesn't have the raw damage mitigation for an ally, and three, he doesn't have the universal faction, which could hurt him in getting the bonus damage in a lot of teams. So we will have to wait and see how that pans out. But basically, this one, I'm not going to go too much into his damaging abilities. I'll just show you the damage that he can deal. The big thing I want to look at is his debuffing capabilities, which are going to be the big thing. So he's going to mark one enemy as the hitter and one as the, the guard. Now, if it's a boss, he marks them both as, he marks the boss as both of these roles. Now, the thing about this is we get a damage taken increase by 40% and an attack reduction of 60%. However, on bosses, it's reduced to 20% of the original effect. So this becomes an 8% damage amplification, and this becomes a 12% attack reduction for bosses. We go over here, we just have some more damage. We got attack speed over here, and then it's his Mythic Plus, his exclusive equipment, that is going to be the big thing. Now, I think you're going to have to take him to level 4. I don't know exactly how this works. Did this used to be 20 on the Pioneer? I can't remember what the numbers were on the Pioneer. I can't remember, but essentially, at level 4, he gets an extra, it says, reduces the hitter's attack by an extra 30% and increases the guard's damage taken by an extra 15%. I really need them to clarify whether this also has the effect of 20%. If this abides by the 20%, because it's in a separate skill and it's written different. So the hit, like, it could be seen as an amplification of this effect, or it could be seen as its own. And if it's its own, it doesn't state that. So I really do need them to clarify this. But essentially, and if I find out the answer, I'll let you guys know. When we look towards REINIER, so if we take a look at REINIER, for instance, I'm sure I got a copy of him. I pulled him on my last thing. And we look at his one here. You can see that we get the damage increases their damage taken by 25% until the battle ends. And if we go over here to Sinbad, boom, and we go into his skills again. Sorry, I'm just struggling to control this. If that 15% stays as raw 15% plus the 8%, that would bring him to a 23%. That would bring him just about to REINIER's level. However, he also has this bit tied in, where he reduces their physical defense. Basically, if they rely more on damage mitigation than healing, which is every boss, he'll reduce their physical and magic defense by 40%. So this would probably make him a higher damage amplification than REINIER if, once again, if this is a full 15%, because that would bring him to 23% damage amplification plus death shreds. That is a pretty amazing all over. However, if it is only 20% of this 15% and he's only getting an extra 3%, that only takes him up to 11% amplification, which is not as good as REINIER. So, and that's where he'll fall off. So I'm curious to see the way this pans out. But like I said, he does have a lot of damage in his kit as well, which is working pretty well. I love the way his ultimate works, where he just basically spams hits based on his attack speed and just like has his ultimate duration. I think it's a pretty cool ultimate when we jump into it. But in general, you know, he's got damage, he's got attack speed, he's got more damage, and then he's got these 2 amplification abilities here to try and, you know, amplify that damage. And I think he is going to be a really good bossing unit. But once again, if you already have a REINIER built, it's hard to go, yeah, get a Sinbad when you've already got the REINIER, and he's kind of filling that same role. Now, there definitely could be the scenario in which this guy goes side by side with REINIER. You get high damage amplification, plus you get good damage out of Sinbad, and he becomes kind of like a secondary damage dealer with additional amplification. The one thing where he kind of falls off in this season is that he's got a pretty average seasonal skill. Well, it's not horrible. It's still useful, but it's not the best. Dispels most debuffs on the hero and gains 60 haste for 4 seconds when the HP drops below 35% for the first time. This haste, like, obviously he likes attack speed and haste. It's not too bad, but it would have been great if he had one of the damage amplification ones. That would have been huge. If like every time he attacked, it increased the damage. Like if he had that, this guy would have been an absolute amplification monster. But you know, we got to wait and see what the new seasons bring. But in general, I do think he is still going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, I did pull the one copy over here on the test server. Like I said, Necrodrakon is not his best fight, so I haven't had any crazy results testing that over here. Also, yes, I've dropped a lot in rating while I was away on holidays. I could only play this on my laptop because I didn't have an updated APK, and yeah. It didn't go too well, but we will start climbing again now that we are back. But I wanted to show you guys this one over here, which is, it was in my leaderboard. You can see top is at 14. We've got a fair few, yeah. It's kind of scattered at the moment, but you can see a lot of people are using like plus 20, that one's a plus 16, plus 24, plus 20, you know, pretty high artifacts. This guy's using a plus 13 artifact on this one and still getting some pretty good results. Now, this one is actually using the Sinbad and the REINIER. Now, once again, this is the only result that I found that was pretty decently high. You know, the test server, people don't rush to build things as fast. But I thought this was a pretty unique team, dropping essentially the Odie from this one to go ahead with the Sinbad there in that spot. Also, you know, it's just a bit different comp. But what I wanted to show you guys is the damage that he's dealing compared to a Lily May. I think it is quite respectable considering how much damage amplification he is bringing. Like I said, over in the Pioneer server, he was working really, really well in the bosses as well. We'll have to wait and see how everything settles out, because I find on the Pioneer server, it is very everyone just copied everyone's team anyway. I don't know how much deep experimenting went on, but I do think he will see meta usage in at least 3 bosses. I would anticipate possibly more. So gonna have to wait and see. But whether his damage is enough to warrant pulling him from the rate up is the question that we have to then wait and see. Whether he is increasing your bossing damage by a significant amount to make it worth pulling him, that's what I'm going to try and wait and see, and I will update you guys as I find out more information and we test him. But in general, as you can see here, this is working really well. The other thing is, this is in pre-endless. Once you get into endless, could be a different story here, because I think Lily May would run away a bit further because of true damage scaling. But you know, overall, I am liking what I'm seeing over here on the test server. He will drop on the global servers pretty soon, and then we will get to test him out some more. But anyway, guys, that is a basic look at Sinbad. Honestly, I kind of want to pull him, but he's an A-level, and I just hate pulling A-level, so rip. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.